Good evening and welcome. This is a live podcast, and you're here to fight CPS and stop taking our children. I'm your host, Bob Pace. I want to give a warm welcome. I know how hard it must be dealing with CPS. I too was involved in CPS, so I'm talking from firsthand experience. Now, this is an interactive podcast. You found me on Facebook, How to Fight CPS, Bob Pace. This is the evening broadcast. We're transmitting on YouTube, and we're transmitting using the StreamYard application. And I definitely want to. Your phone now. I want to really help you understand what CPS is. Now, we can interact with this podcast. There are 4 ways to do so. The first way is just by being in the room, by being a listener in the room, taking notes. That's all you have to do. That's easy. You just come in with the link you got from Facebook. Now, YouTube does have a link. YouTube link is called Fight CPS, Stop Taking Our Children, the evening show. And then, of course, there are several links you can come in via the rooms at Facebook. Now, let's say you want to do more than just listen or take notes. You want to participate. Well, one way you can is that if you text in comments about your question, and it's all polls pertain to CPS. Now, what I call CPS, I call it the Child Protection System. It's a branch of social services, and it is supposed to protect our children from neglect and abuse. Also assist family in needs for food, housing, clothing, medical, schooling, and even a job. It's also supposed to do unification. If they need to break up the family because the kids are in imminent danger, then what they do is they'll take the kids temporarily from the household, and then you can go for a family unification. Now, that's what they're supposed to do. That's what the CPS is supposed to do. But you'll find out that CPS has changed. It's no longer a friendly organization. It's very corrupt and not transparent, and they will traffic your children to foster care. They will alienate your children, and they'll take your children if they're not in imminent danger. Now, if you decide that you want, as I said, to ask a question or comment, all you do is you text it. I ask you to please show your name. And a lot of you may have unusual names for your Facebook or your YouTube. And jumping bears and psychedelic hippopotamuses, those kinds of names, that's hard for me to address. So I'd like a name like Kathy, Mary, Bill, Mark, Peggy, John, Sue, simple names like that. So start off by showing your first name. I don't need to know your second name. And then let me put it on the screen so you can follow along with me on it. Also, I like to see your city and state. Now, if you don't want to give your city, you can do the county. The county's fine. The county's fine. If you don't want to give the city, the county will be fine. So it's the city, state, and your name. And don't forget the state. I also have comments from people around the world. I've heard from 13 countries, from Bangladesh and India to in the Middle East, an Arabic country, which I can never understand Arabic, but I've had contact from Arabic country. Then I've had Africa. I've had Liberia in the north on the west coast. And then I've had the South Africa West Coast province. Then I've had Rwanda in Central East Africa near Lake Victoria, and the Mozambique, which is across on the east side from Madagascar, the island there, right above South Africa and below Somali. Now we move over to Europe, and I've had England, Scotland, Wales, United Kingdom. I've had Sweden and Denmark. Then we go across the pond, and I've had North America. I've had Canada, several countries, several provinces in Canada, British Columbia, Vancouver, Alberta. And I've had all the 50 states in the United States, including this Washington, D.C. And going south of the border, I have Mexico. Then further south in South America, I've had Guyana. Now, Guyana is east of Venezuela, north of Brazil, on the east coast of South Africa. Then across the Pacific, I've had Australia. So when typing in a comment or a question, please let it pertain to CPS. Show me your name, give me your city or county, your state, and if you're from a country, a city in your country, and be complete with your CPS case. It would help me with your CPS case if you would first start off with what your family structure is like. Are you a husband, wife, lovers, partnership, boyfriend, girlfriend? And then are you the same parents for all the children? Are both parents involved? Are you a single parent trying to take care of the children? And then also, how were the children taken, if they were taken? And then what were you alleged? Neglect or abuse, some details of both. And then where you are in your case, you're at the beginning or the end. So that's the second way that you can interact. Now, third way is to schedule to be a guest on our show. I would love to have you as a guest. I can have up to 8. I have up to 9 guests, including me, make it 10. One moment, second here.
Yes.
Your dinner's getting cold. I tried to yell up a bunch of times. But
Okay.
can you come down and eat? Okay. Sorry for the interruption. I was trying to. One of my boys, he's at college now. He's starting his first year, and I didn't know where he was at, and he was still there at school studying hard. Now we have a person that joined this room. Her name is Natalie Hessen Love. Thank you, Natalie. for texting to thank you for your service. I really appreciate that. I don't know what city or state that you're from, but it'd be nice if you could tell me your city or state, or you're from a country, your city and country. If you don't want to give a city and give the county there, that would work too. Um, so right now we're talking about guests, and the way the guests can be to our show. I can have up to 9. Me makes it 10. All you have to do is contact our show producer, Grace, and she works behind the scenes. She helps me with doing my show, and I thank her very much. Now, to contact her, all you do is type her name, Grace, at vincentwdavis.com. Grace at vincentdavis.com. And so the show times are, I'm on 7 days a week, twice a day. I come on at 10 o'clock in the morning, Pacific Standard Time, for 1 hour. Then again at night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour. And you can pick one of my 14 shows. There's one exception. On Sunday, I do a show at 8 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock because I go with family with church. So those are my show times. You just tell Grace in your email, I want to be on Bob's Wednesday morning show, or Bob's Sunday evening show, or Bob's Saturday morning show, or Bob's Friday night show, etc. You just pick one of the shows, and I'm sure we'll get you on there. And Faye is here. Welcome, Faye. Thank you so much. I didn't know if you got the notification or remembered, but I appreciate you here. And Faye says, I'm here. I hope everyone is having a safe, blessed night. Now, we have one other person in the room, Faye. Her name is Natalie Hessen Love, and I have no idea what city or state or country she may be from. I've asked her, so hopefully she'll tell us. But she said, thank you for my service, which I was really touched. Anyway, we have 2 people. I'm talking about how they interact with this podcast. And I just was talking about how to be a guest. And you just email Grace at vincentwdavis.com. Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And she'll gladly put you in the show. She'll give the link. By the way, that link is good. You don't have to worry about if you get booted off, use that link again and get you back on. Make sure, and she'll tell you what to need to do. So make sure there's no light in front of your face so we can see you. And then you have a good microphone and a good connection to Wi-Fi. The best is be on a computer, but if you must use a phone, that's okay. And we do not use the names of social workers or judges or children. Also, there's no eating, smoking, even snacks like chewing on nuts or candy or ice or anything like that. So I'd like you all to come and be my guest. It would really be great. You just make sure that you talk up loud enough and that the show is turned down. Now, a fourth way of interacting with the podcast is my phone number. Now, my phone number, once I have it on the screen, you can call in. It's 626-698-0990. I use Vonage, and that goes directly to my phone. I can only talk before my show or during my show. I cannot talk before. I cannot talk after. I meant to say I cannot take calls before the show or after the show. I can take it only during the show time. So I'm live. So the number will stay up there. And you can call me at 626-698-0990. And I'll let you talk on speakerphone. Make sure you talk up and also that you're complete with your case so I get understanding. Now, Faye is from Richmond, Kentucky. She is a single mother with 2 children. She was in foster care when she was a small child. Unfortunately, it was a very terrible experience, worst experience you can imagine. And she also lost her daughter because she had to choose between her son and her daughter. Her son has special needs. CPS is corrupt, very corrupt in Richmond. We had a person today from Louisville. Hopefully she'll come back. Her name was Sydney, and she was from Louisville, and she had a medical issue with the CPS, the Child Protection System there in Louisville, Kentucky. The other lady was Catherine. That's her stage name. She has a name. I guess she's a actress or something there. So her real name is Bethany, and she's from New York. She's from Rochester, New York, and her 2 kids were taken. So it's pretty tough there. Hi, Lori. I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back. Lori has been coming on the show since I started. She always has a name. Today she's put Lori Hiller Mullins. It's some name that she honors. It could be a guy's name or what. I don't know if it's her parents or her husband or one of her children, but I'm glad to have you. Lori comes and listens. I do not know where she is, but she comes to listen. I'm so glad to have you, Lori. And maybe one time, Lori, you'll be able to talk on the show. So now we have Natalie Hessen. I don't know where she's from. We have Faye from Richmond, Kentucky. So we have room with 3 people, plus there's other people that are not talking in the room. We're up to about 7 people, which is good. For a while, this room wasn't getting very much traffic, and I'm glad to see all these people here because I want to help you. In order for me to help you, I need questions from you. I need what areas you want me to talk about. Now, I have over 75 tabs loaded that I can very quickly click and talk about all kinds of things, like the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978, or the ICPC, or I can talk about the 388 motion or the 160 hearing. There's lots of topics we can talk about that. Also, I have rules. I have 5 rules that we can go over, things that I should have done and I learned from my mistakes. Also, I can talk about my case and how horrific it was and how my children were abused and taken. So I have firsthand knowledge. And you cannot trust CPS. They're not to be trusted here. They're not to be trusted. Now, there's another person usually comes in, and I don't see her. I'll go ahead and tell her again to come on. Her name is Natalie, and she's from West Virginia, California. Oh, she just told me her internet's down. I'll have to call in. Attention crazy. I pay for the upgrade system, but doesn't work. Okay. Okay, so we know we're Natalie. I have one other person, Danielle, who's from Georgia. And she was my co-host at one time. So, Faye, is there anything you'd like to talk about or me cover tonight? Or Lori, is there something you'd like to talk about? Or Natalie, is there something you'd like me to talk about? I'm going to ask you all first. I'm going to ask you first. Before I start to ramble on with all my knowledge that I can help you. I'm not an attorney. I'm a family man. And unfortunately, at the age of 60 in 2010, I lost my job through no fault of my own. And suddenly I had to um, save all my expenses because, when you don't have income and you have a big, expensive house at the beach, because I live in Surf City, USA, about 3 blocks from the beach. So my house is really expensive, and I had to sell it in order to get the money because I had too much already extended with a credit line. It's very expensive, live in California. But there's something that CPS takes advantage of. That's if you're low income or struggling, they're going to take advantage of you. Because why? They hope you take their court appointed attorney. And that court appointed attorney isn't worth involving yourself with. There'll be disappointments after disappointments. They have a caseload of 30 more clients. They won't meet you outside of court. They may talk to you for 5 minutes before your court hearing in the hallway. Now, in California, you're not allowed to be in the court. In Kentucky, you can. So rules are different. Rules are different. So it's really important. In fact, I think I'm going to say my first rule tonight, that you have a qualified attorney to defend yourself, because you'll find that the child protection system is just like open heart surgery. Now, if you know anything about open heart surgery, you know you're getting a professional doctor that's trained and schooled and knows how to work on your heart. You're not going to get a layman, someone like a mechanic or a plumber or a carpenter, to work on your heart. So I emphasize that you have to look at CPS as a very technical, shady outfit, and you need a fighter. And I have an attorney that I hired, that I worked for, who helped me with my case. His name is Vincent W. Davis. He sponsors this podcast. I want to thank him for sponsoring this podcast. He wants to help you. He has his own podcast. He has lots of attorneys that deal with all kinds of legal matters. So if you have other legal matters, what you're going to do is you're going to call in 888-888-6582. That's the office. And if you need help with other legal matters, or if you want to retain Mr. Davis, that's the number you call. But I got a better deal. At the bottom of my screen, you'll see a ticket scrolling. Now, that ticket that you read there, it says book a discounted Zoom consultation with attorney Vincent Davis for up to 30 minutes. And that'll be for $60. I have a special deal done with Vincent Davis. He'll talk to you for 30 minutes for $60 on a Zoom consultation. But you must do it a certain way to get it. First, you have to go to the website. And the website is https://candidly.com/apptsvwd/Bob Pace. There you can book your 30-minute consultation and use your credit card to pay the $60. But that's a special deal. Now, as I said, the other number is to get pricing on all the attorneys and help with any of the attorneys here at the law firm. Just make sure you say that Bob Pace sent you, and do the same thing when you talk to Mr. Davis. When you do your Zoom meeting, say, Mr. Davis, Bob Pace sent me. So it's important he hears that. So those are the numbers. I got my work number from a direct line. I got the office number, and then I got the web address to make a consultation appointment. And it's at the bottom of the screen. It's the ticket that's scrolling. Faye, I don't know if there's a West Virginia, California. There's a West Hollywood, California. If I say West Virginia, I have no idea where I'm coming up with West Virginia, California. I say West Hollywood, but that's for Natalie. But thank you for correcting me if I said it wrong. Thank you so much. Now, she's given an update on one of the people from this room. Her name is Christy Zalazar, and she's from New Mexico and has been having a hard time getting a call back to go consult with Vincent Davis. Okay, if you can give me the number, I will personally deliver that to Mr. Davis. All I need to know is the date and time she tried to call him. And the thing is, that phone number, I just found out after 9 months, I've been advertising the phone number is one of two ways to make time with him, but that's not for consultation. It's for his regular number for his regular office. She needs to go to that website. We need to help out Crystal go to that website to have that consultation. That's the TPS /Candely CALENDLY.com/apps APPTSVWD /Bob Pace. That's where she'll book Mr. Davis. I put the link at the bottom of my picture. If you look at my face, it's at the bottom of the link. Now I need to take down Christine Salazar and hold on. I somehow, I put that up there. Okay, at the bottom of my YouTube, it will tell you go to, and it's HTTPS, and that is the book a discounted Zoom consultation with attorney Vincent Davis for 30 minutes, and that's for $60. Now I can go ahead and type that thing in there too. I pretty much have it memorized. HTTPS colon let me see here // Candely CALENDLY .com /apps APPTS VWD /Bob Pace. And that should be the same message that's the bottom of my screen. Yeah, that should be the same thing. Now, I'm going to post it. Well, I don't know what happened to it. I'll retype it again. HTTPS colon / oops, that's not colon. HTTP. Every time I have a difficult time trying to post comments in here because when I leave to go check if it's spelled right, Okay, I'm going to do what you said here. Hopefully, I know it's the bottom of my screen, but maybe you're not seeing it. So now I've posted it all the rooms. I posted it to all the rooms that are connected here, Faye, and hopefully you'll see it. I will also like an update on Crystal. He says that she's having a hard time, but she can book him there. I just need the and I'm sorry that she tried to call, but I guess Grace, for the first time in so many months, told me that the candidly is what we're supposed to be doing. Yeah, it is tiny. I can make it big by making the screen zoom up, but then I can't see the comments when I enlarge the screen. See, I can't see the comments when I enlarge the screen. So I'm glad you told me that. That the screen's small. I did not know it shows as small, but when I make it larger there. Now, we had an interesting morning. As I said, we had people this morning that were supposed to call back tonight. Hopefully they will, or maybe tomorrow again. But what I'm trying to tell you right now is Vincent Davis has 35 years of fighting CPS. He is a dependency, family, juvenile attorney. That's his background. He's an expert in that field. He's also a trial attorney. He can fight. He has a case in Northern California and a case in Oklahoma, and then he has several cases in the LA area where his office is located. And he will talk to you for that 30 minutes about the strategies of how to fight CPS and get kids back. Also, that number there, the 888-888-6582, you can talk to the office about retaining him too to represent you. The only expenses that are different, that are like at the local area in LA, is that if he goes to Northern California, one of the 50 states, he needs a hotel accommodation, ground transportation, and airfare to get there. And of course, the food to eat there. So those are the added expenses because he's away from home. If he's down at home, he has a place to go home to and eat and so forth. So, that's the per diem that is added on to the retainer fee. So it makes it kind of hard there. But I'm telling you, you need to talk to him because, at first I didn't have a real attorney. I used a court-appointed attorney because I couldn't afford one. When I lost my job, I had money saved up, but my money has been used for paying the mortgage payments. My mortgage payments, I had like $5,000 in mortgage payments and taxes and stuff. So that my savings got eaten up really fast. It really got fast. That's the hard thing. When you have a high-end job, you make a lot of money, you got a beautiful home for your family, you try to make it high. When you lose that income or source, it's really hard. Also, at my age, no one likes to hire dinosaurs. So I recommend strongly that you talk to Vincent Davis. Even if it's 30 minutes, you have nothing to lose because you're going to find yourself in a terrible, terrible agency. If you can imagine Alice in Wonderland, that's what it is to go into CPS. You fall in a rabbit hole, you meet the Chester cat who sends you from room to room that makes no sense. Off with your head. They lie, they're not transparent, they're vindictive. There's no accountability with them. They don't like parents, they don't like families, and they certainly don't like seniors or elders. And the sad part about it is you children will be hurt in foster care. Foster care has not been really good. And the reason behind all this, it's a money business now. They make $1 trillion a year because they get the federal government to send money to the state. State in turn sends it to the county. There's no accountability how the money is spent. In fact, in Richmond, Kentucky, There is $1 million unaccounted for by the CPS. They don't know what they spent it on. And there was a guy that was recently in Richmond, Kentucky, charged with embezzling funds. So it is very corrupt. I know that from first-hand experience. Faye will tell you also. And I hate to say that because we need the CPS outfit to really save our kids, really take care of kids. That's what we need. Okay, I have my phone number posted. No one's called me. I have Faye, who's been writing a lot of comments and helping me out, and I appreciate her help on that matter. Lori typically just listens in her room. I don't know where she's from, but I'd like to know. And then Natalie, I have no idea where she's from, but she's very nice to thank me. Okay. I told you about my first rule, number 1, and that is you definitely have to have an attorney because that's the only way you're going to get your children back. Now, that will put a hard dilemma on most of you because right now you don't have the money to hire a professional attorney. So you're screwed because if you use a court-appointed attorney, you're going to get nothing out of them. If you do it pro se, where you represent yourself, you'll be eaten alive because the attorneys for social service are corrupt. The judge is corrupt. They all belong to the same pals club. They eat together, play golf together. Even the court-appointed attorneys for your children or for your husband and wife, they're bad. They're bad scene. And I didn't have an attorney, and it took me 3 years to finally get my kids back, and one of them was not returned. I had a very terrible case to start off with 5 years of harassment that false allegations were called in by a layperson who happened to be my in-laws. My wife's mother, father, her brother, and her 3 sisters were making false allegations because they're determined to get our children. They wanted to have our children. They didn't show up at our wedding 31 years ago. I've been married for 31 years. I have 6 children, 3 older ones, 3 younger ones. And I love my family. I'll do anything for my family. I'm not an attorney, but I'm a very intelligent guy. I've had a lot of experience now talking to people about their cases, and I can help you. I can help you and talk to you about things that maybe the other people won't talk about. Because the CPS is an awful agency. They are really, really bad, and so is foster care. Now I have rule number 2, which is get yourself organized with a notebook. Get an 8.5 by 11-inch binder, 3 inches thick. If it's thicker is the better. But you want to put all your paperwork in that binder. And you need to get subject dividers in there so you can organize it. And one of the most important subjects is incidents. You want to get that college rule notebook paper stuffed in there. And then you want to fill out your incidents and range it by date and time and so forth. And what you can do is you put down the date, the time, the location, and then the people involved with the incident. Now, that could be your children. It could be the school. It could be the CPS. It could be the police department. It could be a lot of people there. So every incident you record because you won't know in 6 months. You won't remember everything, and you'll need it later when you're working with your attorney or working with the judge in court. So make that notebook, and as I say, you make that incident pages. There'll be lots of them. You could have over 500 incidents. And that's really important. Also, another subject matter is that you could have a place for all the parenting classes that you take. You may want to make a key, index key of what ones you take in the hours and attach all your certificates in there. Also, you want to do all your drug tests, and you want to do drug tests that you choose with your own insurance company. Do not trust the drug tests of the CPS. They're very corrupt about that. Also, you will have mental tests because they always try to say you're mentally incompetent to take care of children. That's the reason when they say you're mentally incompetent, that's where they say there's an imminent danger. You got to take the children from you. That's how they get away with it. And they're not clinical psychiatrists, but they will try to label that until you prove otherwise. You see, in CPS, the Child Protection System, you're guilty until you're proven innocent. You're guilty till you're proven innocent. Every other court of law, you are innocent till you're proven guilty, but not in CPS, not in CPS. Use highlighters. When you're doing that notebook, you put your court papers in another section, hole punch them. You can also have a section for your programs, your domestic violence, anger management, your drug rehab, if you were on drugs, your smoking, or whatever the case may be. You want to use that notebook because I didn't. I had everything on pieces of paper and post-it notes. It's a miserable experience trying to find something. So I recommend that number 2, that you organize that notebook and you have as much info in there. You can have a section called info where you list all the websites you found dealing with CPS and everything there. And phone numbers and names and contacts and departments. It is a very, very, very complex. Now, rule number 3 is most important because when you are at home, you should get in the habit of not answering the door on the first knock or when someone comes to the door. Too many people have been shot lately, and I don't want to see you all being shot. There was a airman for the United States Air Force, 23 years old, in Gainesville, Florida. He was shot 5 times in the chest, point blank, as he talked to his girlfriend on FaceTime, and he slowly died. It was all caught on FaceTime and also the sheriff's camcorder there. So that's why I tell you not to answer the door. There's another lady that was doing dishes, and she shot 5 times in the face. That was another terrible case. And then there was a Korean lady that had some mental issues that was shot, and it was an unnecessary shot. It seems they always want to take your children. The social workers always want to have the police with them because they're intimidating. And they try to muscle you and violate your constitutional or your civil rights. There's only 3 ways they can come into your home. The first way is if you give them permission, or someone in your household gives them permission. You got to be careful, instruct to know when to answer the door and no one to let anybody in. So if you give them permission, then they're in your home and you're at their mercy. Now, the other way they get into your home is if there's domestic violence going on, meaning 2 people are fighting. It could be some brothers or something like that, or a mother and father fighting. And again, anger management, domestic violence is not safe for children. And you need to cease from that right away because they will enter the home, especially if the child's caught between the crossfire, being strangled or thrown against the wall or something. So that is the second way they can enter it because they're trying to protect that child. The third way is a court order. That court order is a warrant. It has to be properly filled out. Properly filled out. It's got to have the signature of the judge, a wet signature, and then that signature is embossed, so it's raised up. Keep in mind, courts aren't open on holidays or the weekends, so they have a funny date there. That means it's fake. Also, copies are fake. It's got to be a wet signature. It also should say on the warrant who's it addressed to. If 2 people are involved, address them. say the children, and it'll give you the allegations or the neglect. Also, it's going to have the children too listed, and then it's also going to tell you what they can do. They can talk to you, search your home, or take your children. Now, if you're outside and they show you a warrant, then you have to follow the warrant, what it says on the warrant. Now, if you're outside, they don't have a warrant, you can tell them, hey, time out. I can't meet with you right now because I need my attorney present. Your constitutional right gives you the authority to have an attorney representative all proceedings, all legal proceedings. So you're entitled to have that attorney. Now, when I told you all about not answer the door, you're going to have to follow up with them because they'll leave a card. You need to follow up because it gets worse and worse. I'm saying don't answer the door, but if they leave a card, make sure you contact them. Make sure you contact them because they will make your life worse too. So that rule number 3 is very important. You don't talk to them because they will use what you say against you. And you certainly let them in your home or take your children. The instructions have to give the address and what they can do and not do. Now, part of rule number 3, as I talk about medical trafficking. Now, before I forget, if you meet the social workers, the police out there, just tell them that you need to have your attorney represented and that you'll get back to them. So you need their names. Make sure you get the badge number because sometimes they lie about their name. The police do. Social workers will have an ID. Make sure you look at it. It has the right name. And then go ahead and find your attorney and contact them. It's really important that you do so. You can't. They'll eventually go to the court and get that warrant to get your children. They'll eventually do that. They're a very powerful entity. They have no scruples. They're not honest. I don't know what a good I've had 3 social workers be my guest on my podcast. One was Carol from Maryland, and she had a clinical psychiatry degree. She also said that she had 6 months of training in Maryland to be a social worker for CPS. And she was very pleasant, and she was she was appalled at hearing all these bad stories about CPS. There are good social workers. There are social workers needed for children that are neglected and abused. It's really important that they are doing that. Now, I mentioned, okay, so let's say you just met a social worker outside. They don't have a warrant. They say, we need to come to your house. You say, I'm sorry, sir or ma'am. I can't let you in my home unless my attorney's present, and I'll get back to you. What is your name? And then look at the info, get their name and a phone number. And then you do need to follow up. You can't ignore it. They'll get the warrant. Now, medical trafficking is 2 incidents. One is where your child's extremely sick and you take them to emergency room or the hospital or urgent care. Lately, social workers have been working there and they've been trying to take the children. The reason why I know that they're professional child kidnappers is because I have my pink ladies from Prescott, Arizona. In 2022, they bought pink T-shirts, and on the T-shirts they had inscribed professional child kidnappers. And on the back they said, "Do you know where your children are at?" And this was a sickening gesture, but that's your typical social worker. And you just got to be careful. A way to get around it is say, "Well, I'll get back to you. I need to talk to my attorney will get back to you." So that's really it. You don't need to talk any further about that. Now, these social workers will try to con you to give up your children when you're taken because they have a high temp or high fever, stuff like that. Unless they have a warrant, just don't talk to them. And also goes for people that are having babies. They're going to try to enter your room because there may have been a positive drug test taken, but they're going to try in the room. They don't have authorization. They have to have a warrant. And you can tell them to get out of your room and deal with it firsthand. So that's my rule number 3. I've talked about attorney rule number 1. Rule number 2 is you're organizing your notes in your notebook. Rule 3 is don't let them in your home. Don't you let anybody in your home. And keep your doors secured and get the back part of the house. Remember, I don't want to see you killed. I don't want to see you killed. Okay, I have about 7 minutes left. I've talked about my rule number 3. I have rule number 4, which is the research rule. You should try to find out as much as you can about your CPS case. As I say, I have 75 windows. There's so much information that will help you. You got to spend 60 hours on the internet finding everything you know about your CPS in your city or county or country. All you do is that you type in the city, and if it's a small city like Athens, Georgia, you may want to type in Atlanta and Athens, Georgia. Then after those words, you put CPS, and then you describe what in the CPS system you want to know, the dependency court, wherever the case is. And I guarantee they'll give you a lot of questions to answer yourself there. I really want so much to help you, and I really care, about you. And it's a horrible experience. Mine was very dreadful. Now, that rule I said, the research, you put CPS after your city and state, or your 2 cities and state, and then you type in what you can want to know about that CPS in there. Like Richmond is a pretty big city, so you put Richmond, Kentucky, CPS, and dependency court. That's going to tell you all about the dependency court. Or if you want to find a pro bono attorney, it's an attorney that some people take cases without charging. I do want to help you. I know how hard it is. And social workers are so bad. They are so bad. My last rule is rule number 5, which is your medical documents and all your important documents related to your children and yourself. You should put the birth certificates, the Social Security. When you have your child, make sure you pick them up when you leave the birthing room, when you leave, because they're supposed to get it. If you don't get it, then CPS will get it for you and put a foster care parent's name on there. That's how corrupt they are. In there, you put your medical records. Like if your children have some medical records, you want all that in there, your medical records, and then their shot cards and your driver's license, marriage certificate, anything that's a legal documentation, all put in that folder. That way it's with you. That's my rule number 5. That is thanks to Faye. She's the one that says you need to organize your documents, because when you go through CPS, they're going to first say your husband, presumably the father. Well, if you show them a marriage certificate and a birth certificate, it will show that he's the father of your children. So those are really important there. So I've covered my 5 rules, but I want to leave you with something that is a terrible tragedy and how bad CPS is. After they were hassling me for 5 years with the false allegations, they tricked me and got into my home, and I opened up to them, which is a big mistake. You don't want to tell them because they will use it against you. But they got a police detective that followed me and coerced me to go home and open my home up. And unfortunately, at the time, I had all my parents' belongings, and because they've been in my home before and never say anything. But because I had stacks of furniture and boxes, they didn't take too well. And so I know it's hard, but in my case, they took my 3 children. They weren't in imminent danger, and that seems the typical MO that they do lately. And they were in school at the time. But there's a part of the time that my wife's sister and husband were trying to adopt our daughter, and the social worker was on the stand. And Vincent Davis was at the social worker, did the parents, my wife's sister and her husband, have any domestic violence? And the social worker said, oh, they're good parents, no problem there. Then Mr. Davis opened up the briefcase, pulled out the folder, and there was 30 documents of police reports of very extreme domestic violence. So she lied. She committed perjury, and she can be sued by a civil lawsuit for committing perjury. And she retaliated. That's the sad part. She told the mother and father that you're never going to see your daughter again. You're never going to see your daughter again. And what she did, she told her 12-year-old daughter, you're old enough in California, you can emancipate from your parents. That means divorce your mom and dad, divorce your brothers, your 2 brothers, divorce your sisters. Actually, it was 3 brothers and 3 other sisters. She had to divorce everybody, the whole family, cousins, aunts, uncles, and grandparents. And then change your name, seal your birth certificate so that you get a new birth certificate and be adopted by foster care. That social worker retaliated. That's how dangerous they are. And she now is 22. She does not talk to us. She does talk to her brothers, which I encourage. But right now, she does not talk to us. I'm hoping one day she'll open her eyes and see that we're not a bad parent or something like that. I don't know what her issues are or why she does what she does. But I hope and pray that she'll come back. I don't mean to end on a sad note, but I want to thank all of you for listening. I didn't have any comments or anybody ask anything, so I went ahead and did my rules. I know it can be very boring at times. So please come back and see me again tomorrow at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and we can talk. You can call me on the phone. Again, I want to thank you all for listening. Don't stop fighting. I want to thank Faye for being there, supporting me, and all she does to fight CPS. I also want to thank Lori Hilder for coming in again. She's been a long time member of the room. And then the new person, Natalie Hessen Love, who I have no idea where she's from, but thank you for coming into the room. So with that said, I'll say good night. God bless you. And this is